Welcome to Inventory Management. I'd like to invite you to join us in learning to manage the inventory process. We'll explain everything from the reasons we conduct inventory through the actual steps of performing it, and finally, how to review and analyze your monthly inventory data. So by the end of this training, you'll be able to manage inventory like a champ.
Our inventory processes are standardized, and we'll provide you with some handy job aids and resources.
That's right. Accurate and standardized inventory practices lead to better ordering decisions, more accurate costing, having desired and/or sufficient supplies on hand to meet operational needs, and reduced risks of theft and fraud, which all contribute to improved profitability.
The step-by-step procedures make performing inventory easy. That's why I like them. I like that everyone's specific responsibilities are spelled out. I don't have to wonder who's doing what.
All employees responsible for counting, costing, recording, and reviewing inventory should be aware of and properly trained on AF Topic 832.01, Inventory Control. They should also be familiar with the 10 Golden Rules on Inventory and Inventory Management. A copy of this is available on the Sodexo Net Inventory Management page. Now, let's go into the details of how to conduct inventory. We'll show you each step in conducting physical inventory. By the end of our time together, you'll understand how to prepare for inventory, perform inventory, value ending inventory, and conclude inventory. Let's start with, why do we perform inventory? Well, first, it's required. As a company, Sodexo is required to accurately report assets on a regular basis, so we complete inventory to meet company requirements.
But inventory is also valuable to us as a unit. I mean, we need to know what products to order. What's already on hand for menu planning? What supplies do we need to order? And we want to avoid excess inventory. We don't want to store extra quantities of any product and risk spoilage, theft, or fraud, or having too much money tied up in inventory.
Another question that a lot of people ask right off is, what is our inventory? Our inventory is a valuable asset, and really, anything we own. Some of the most common items we inventory at Sodexo include inventory food and supply items, vending merchandise, pharmaceutical supplies, concession items, general merchandise, sundries, gift shop merchandise, and liquor.
We should probably talk a little about when we perform inventory, don't you think?
Good point. A physical inventory must be taken within the last 4 calendar days of the month for units operating on a 7-day schedule and within the last 4 business days of the month for units operating on a 5-day schedule, except during periods 6 and 12, when it must be taken on the last day of the month. Additionally, universities, sports and leisure, and government segments have some additional requirements. If you are in these segments, click the applicable button for more information.
The counter provides the count and unit of measurement to the writer. And be sure that you inspect all open boxes or containers for manufacturer sealed or individually wrapped items. The writer records the physical inventory quantities provided by the counter on the count sheets and notes any changes on the count sheet, such as change of location sequence or unit of measurement, that is, gallons, number 10 cans, etc. And if an item is not listed on the count sheet, the writer adds it and its count to the count sheet. The unit manager makes sure that all items are counted and recorded on the count sheet correctly, in the correct unit of measurement. If the writer reports that items were missed due to misplacement or another problem, the unit manager should follow up with the person who stored the product or update the item sequence for the storage area.
Okay, now we'll go into detail on the inventory steps. Let's talk about count sheets. Okay, now we'll go into detail on the inventory steps. Let's talk about count sheets.
Let's take a look at an example of a count sheet in detail. The count sheet should include columns for the item number or SKU, item description, unit of measure, and physical count, which is the current quantity on hand. If possible, sequence the inventory items on the count sheet to mirror the layout of the storage area to expedite the taking of the physical inventory, along with helping to ensure accuracy. It's important to know that each storage location has its own count sheet. For example, dry storage, refrigerator, freezer, liquor or alcohol cabinet, storeroom areas, paper supplies, operating supplies, and vending items. Be sure to arrange the count sheets by storage location in the order in which you will conduct inventory.
The next step is to prepare items for inventory. First, pull all items for today's production before beginning the count. Remember, wait until after the count is complete to pull items for tomorrow's production. Next, pull sealed containers or packages from cases. Finally, shelve as many items from open boxes or containers as possible. If a box is open but shelving is not possible, cut the flap. This speeds up counting. Earlier, we talked about the different roles involved in the inventory process. Let's dig a little deeper. The counter counts the number of single items on a shelf. The writer immediately records that number on the count sheet. The unit manager oversees the inventory process to ensure that inventory is accomplished in a standardized manner. The method is to count inventory from shelf to sheet. Also, we always count storage locations in the same sequence to minimize the opportunity for an area to be missed. For example, at our facility, we always begin with dry goods and then move to cold storage, then frozen storage, and finally to supplies. Count inventory from top to bottom, left to right.
The writer confirms that all inventory items in the storage location have been counted. When counting is complete, the counter and writer review any items on the count sheet for which a count has not been recorded. The counter counts any items that were missed, and the writer enters the information. If you have items on the count sheet but no inventory of the items, enter 0 or a dash next to the item. And if items were missed because of misplacement or other problems, note it on the count sheet so management can follow up. Remember, both the counter and writer have to sign all of the completed count sheets.
It is important to remember to include vendor deliveries through the inventory cutoff day in the physical inventory count. This ensures that the expense is recorded in the current period. If an invoice was not received from a vendor delivery on the inventory cutoff day, contact Client Accounting for an accrual journal entry to record the expense in the appropriate period per AF Topic 27501, Journal Entry Guidelines.
Now, let's get into what we do and don't count. I'll give you an overview of what we count. Specifically, we count individual items with manufacturer seals intact, such as cases, boxes, sealed bags, packages, cans, bottles, and individually wrapped products. You know, stuff that hasn't been opened. There are a few exceptions for open items that are also counted. Items removed from the original packages that have not been altered in any way and have not been combined with other products, such as an entire bag of meat defrosting. Open bulk dry goods greater than 10 pounds or 5 kilograms, such as sugar, fertilizer, or detergent, and open liquor bottles, which are inventoried by tenths of a bottle. Now, in commissary operations and central production facilities where we hold goods for distribution, we include work in progress in the count. Work in progress includes goods being prepped today that will be sold or consumed tomorrow, such as deli trays and cheese platters. Work in progress is used in only a few facilities, so if you need to determine if that status is appropriate to your operation, please contact your district manager or finance team.
Here's an overview of what we don't count. Individual open items with broken seals, items in use, prep or service areas, open bulk dry goods less than 10 pounds or 5 kilograms, leftovers, and expired, spoiled, or damaged goods. Broken seals means opened bags, packages, bottles, cans, unwrapped products, and opened containers. So, if you have an open bag in a box, you don't count it. One final note, going back to the what to count exceptions. If we marinate that entire bag of meat that was simply defrosting, it has now been altered and or combined with other products, so we can no longer count it.
You're catching on to the rules pretty fast, huh? Let's see how well you remember those exceptions mentioned earlier, and I'll share a few more. One hint, the bulk item exception only applies to dry goods. And now for my favorite exception. If a box of produce has been opened, but only for inspection, and nothing's been removed or altered, then do count it. This one I like to call the inspection exception. The last exception to our basic inventory rules is that we don't count individual packets of condiments. That's a good thing. Otherwise, we'd be here all night counting every ketchup, mustard, salt, and pepper packet.
Okay, so let's do a quick review. Specifically, we count individual items with manufacturer seals intact. We don't count individual open items with broken seals, items in use, prep or service areas, leftovers, or expired, spoiled, or damaged goods. And for exceptions, first, if open bulk dry goods are greater than 10 pounds or 5 kilograms, you should count and write it down. Next, items removed from the original packages that have not been altered or combined with other products should be counted. Open liquor bottles are inventoried by tenths of a bottle. Then there's the inspection exception. And finally, we don't count individual condiment packets. Count, don't count tips are posted on the inventory management page on Sodexo.net. You can print these out and refer to them as you perform inventory. Here's a completed inventory count sheet. Check out all the areas that the unit manager must assess and address. You may already be aware that Sodexo has a set of tools available to you for creating a complete set of inventory records. We're not going to discuss each tool in depth during this training, but we've included an overview of each tool here on this screen.
This chart provides information about the controls for valuing inventory in food and facilities units and vending units. It is important to document any correction between each of the controls, so that the documents provide a complete audit trail to recreate the final inventory reported value. Review your unit controls to ensure you are meeting all the requirements detailed here.
All right, now that you know how to properly conduct inventory, let's talk about how to review your inventory results and recognize when additional follow-up is necessary. District managers are required to observe the taking of a physical inventory at each of their units at least once every 12 months. In cases where the district manager oversees more than 12 units, it gets extended to 18 months. This observation should be documented by signing the inventory record. When visiting unit locations, the district manager should check inventory extensions to validate the process and document this by signing the inventory records.
General managers and district managers should utilize eVision monthly to review various inventory metrics and/or trends for reasonableness and/or fraud prevention, and record action steps via the e-business review process.
Okay, you now have the tools to keep your inventory in check and to make sure this valuable asset is working for your unit and Sodexo. Thank you for working through the inventory process. You have learned the basics of inventory management, the guidelines in terms of what we count and don't count, and who does what in the process.
And you know what's involved to prepare for inventory, perform inventory, value ending inventory, conclude the inventory process, and then review and analyze the inventory data.
You are now ready to tackle inventory in your own unit. And remember, you have job aids and other resources available on the inventory management page on Sodexo.net to help you at any time. Thank you, and happy counting!